Good evening and welcome to the Spalding County Board of...
Yeah.
Okay, excuse me, I
Sorry.
want to make sure I can be here. Spalding County Board of Commissioners Extraordinary Session. Today is September 16th, 2024. The time is 6 p.m. I would request that you please silence your cell phones and all other electronic devices at this time. And at this time, I'd like to ask Commissioner Dutton to lead us in the invocation and Commissioner Johnson to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Please join me in prayer. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you again tonight in prayer in order to thank you for the awesome opportunities that we have here in this world. Father, we thank you for our families, for our friends, for our loved ones, and those around us. Father, we ask a special blessing on the family of Commissioner Belton, who is unable to attend tonight. We ask a prayer of healing on him and his family. Father, be with them in their time of need. We ask a blessing on this meeting tonight that we can hear the concerns, that information can be shared, that we can all be edified, and that thy will be done. Father, we ask these blessings humbly in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioners. At this time, item number 4, public hearing. Call for a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to go into public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All right, we're in public hearing. Dr. Ledbetter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bear with me just a minute.
Good, take your time, take your time.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Board of Commissioners, for the opportunity to present the millage rate discussion for us this evening while Kathy gets us ready to go. I think you're doing wonderful.
It's been a while.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
We
you
appreciate
for
you coming back and joining us.
thank you for your help.
Appreciate you coming back.
It's persnickety.
It is personally. All right, you'll go ahead.
Next one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, wait a minute.
Should be able to just hit the down arrow.
I know, but it didn't work.
Oh, no.
Hold on.
We love technology when it goes right.
There it is. Thank you much. The Board of Commissioners set the expenditure budget back in June of 2024. Now it's time to adopt the millage rate and balance the expenditure budget with our revenue budget. Come ahead. So how are properties valued? I do want to take just a few minutes and share about how our properties are valued. You'll come ahead. So properties are valued by our tax assessors. They are bound by Georgia law to set a fair market value price. They do this every 3 years. They're required by law, but they are doing it in a way as was described by our tax assessors just a few months ago when they came and presented. They go through and do approval and denial of exemptions. So they set, for example, the conservation use valuations for us, and then they process the taxpayer appeals. The tax commissioner takes the information from there, and she compiles the tax digest and certifies that information with the Department of Revenue. She bills, collects, and then disperses our taxes. Third, our Board of Commissioners set the millage rate for our revenues, which includes a legal requirement, and the booklet we have is about this thick. It provides for us how we put together our public notices, and then September the 26th, next Thursday night, we will present the millage rate to you for consideration and adoption. Number 4 is the Board of Education. The Board of Education also makes a recommendation for the millage rate and tax rates for our school system, and then they establish their annual budget. If you'll come ahead. Our tax assessor determines the value of properties, and this is the process that they follow. The market value assessment, they go through and consider the sales prices for the properties that are within our community. Then they assess the value for it. They work through an assessment ratio for us. Thank you. And they have to present that back to the Department of Audits, who determines whether or not we are within the sales ratio. And we will talk about that here in just a second. But to set three, they use 3 approaches to set the value. They use a cost approach, a sales comparison approach, or an income approach. As our tax assessor indicated, they use a mass sales approach, so they take a look at the sales that are going on within our community, and they make assessments from there. They do annual reviews. As we just discussed, they are mandated to review the assessments every 3 years, and then they are working through uniformity and equalization with the State Revenue Commission, who actually reviews all the sales and make sure that we're in compliance. Oops, it went one too many.
Okay, you're good.
I got it. So where does Spalding County rate for our sales ratio? We did receive the Department of Audit's information just a few weeks ago. They indicated that for the first time in 3 years, we are above the 38th percentile, and if you notice on the screen, we are at 38.95, which is great news for us because it affords the tax commissioner to levy a tax against our utilities at the 40% mark. So good news for us because that actually supports and helps our community for our property taxes. So what issues arise when tax assessor falls below the 38th percentile? Well, as the screen indicates, I just want to highlight a few things. The Department of Revenue may intervene to ensure compliance, which is what they've done over the last 2 years. That's why you, as a board, have approved to move us forward with filing appeals for our sales ratio. We've won those appeals for the last 2 years. We were under the 38th percentile, but we did win those appeals for the last 2 years, but they were heavily involved in all that we were doing. They can also invoke audits or review the processes that we have in place and practices that we have in place. Number 2, the equalization concerns. If you fall below the 38th percentile, property assessments are not in line with the market values, and it leads to unequal tax burdens among property owners. Number 3, it lowers property tax revenues for the county. It also has an ability to underfund public services and infrastructure. And number 4, it's taxpayer appeals. We typically have more appeals when we're not fairly assessing our tax rate appropriately. And then finally, the public trust is eroded. So why should we maintain our sales ratio appropriately? Again, it's just the inverse of what we just discussed. We avoid state intervention and potential penalties. Our property taxes are distributed fairly, and the trust actually increases for our neighbors. One of the things that I am very proud of this year is that we are above that 38th percentile, and it relieves us of the duty of a lot of extra work from our tax assessor's office and from staff because of being underneath that percentile. I do want to highlight the fact of how property values and taxes work with respect to how a millage rate is calculated. So I won't take the time to read the screen. I would encourage those in the audience and those watching online to take just a moment to read through the screen, but I do want to highlight one thing. A single-family home that has a fair market value of $250 is assessed $100,000.
$50,000.
I'm sorry?
250,000.
Sorry, please forgive me. $250,000 is assessed $100,000. Why? Because it is 40% of the fair market value. So 40% times the 250,000 is 100,000. If the millage rate is 15 mills, the property tax would be $1,500. So 250 divided by 1,000 of assessed value is 250,000 divided by 1,000 of assessed value is 250. 250 multiplied by 15 is $1,500. That's a simple way of understanding how to calculate the millage rate. So let's talk about the timeline for setting the millage rate. As you notice on the screen, this year we're actually in time. So July the 15th, Tax Assessor's Office completed the revision and assessment of the returns per Georgia Code. In August, the Board of Commissioners made a recommendation with the budget that they set, the expenditure budget that they set for a millage rate. In September 1st, the Tax Commissioner submitted the tax digest to the Department of Revenue. And then by the end of September, next Thursday night, we will present for the board's consideration a millage rate, which will put us in line for completing our requirements on time. So just in a different way of looking at what I just described, this is our schedule for this year for highlighting our advertisements for our community and setting our millage rate, which again is in compliance with Georgia law. Next up, I do want to share with our community where Spalding County ranks with respect to the Department of Audit Sales Ratio report. We rated number 37 for the valuations. For me, that was a little telling, and the reason for that is because we are the 36th largest county in the state of Georgia. So we are within the guidelines of where we should be. One of the things that I would like to call your attention to is that we have moved over the 70,000 mark for population. We are at 70,884. It's an interesting dynamic when you sit and look through the data set, though, because our community is growing in a residential population, more so than commercial, industrial, and manufacturing. And if you notice, the bottom right-hand side of the screen indicates that it cost $1.16 for every dollar received in revenue for taxes to satisfy the services required by our community. That's not my number. That was actually put together by Georgia Tech. They used Effingham County just 4 years ago to pull this together. In turn, they actually did a study nationally to understand how much it truly cost for a community to provide services for the residents. As we grow in our population for residents, it does cost more. And the reason for it is because the larger the community for residential, the more times that we as a community ask our sheriff's departments and police departments to come by and check on us just to make sure that we're okay. It costs more to provide judicial services or permitting services. The service fee actually goes up for the residential side of the equation. For farm and ag or for commercial and industrial, you'll notice the difference in cost. So what are our expenditures for fiscal year 25? So our budget, as indicated in June, showed that we would need $71,168,552, or $3,948,730 more this year than last year to satisfy the expenditure requirements. And I want you to hold that number in your mind for just a minute as we continue through. What millage rate is required? Well, let's talk about what a mill is worth, because a mill is not a mill is not a mill. So if you notice on the screen, you will see that in 2024, one mill at 15.588 mills, 1 mill is worth $2,769,273. In comparison, in 2019, our millage rate was 16.535. One mill in 2019 was $1,617,551. I would dare venture that you will be as shocked as I was. I looked at DeKalb County, and one mill in DeKalb County is worth $93 million.
Holy crap.
One mill is not worth a mill. One mill is dependent upon the community and how much it takes to satisfy the services that we provide. So this year, our recommendation to satisfy the expenditure requirement is 15.588. And if you'll notice, it indicates a rollback of 3.029. I told you I would bring you back to this discussion. The increase for our expenditures was 3.9 million. The increase on the tax levy is 3.1. So where is the rest of the money coming from? That's actually a really good question. Because if you look at the property that we have across our community, it's roughly $3 trillion worth of assets. The amount of funds that it costs for a property owner, me, as I live here in our community, is not going up 7.8%. Why? Because we have added roughly $54 million worth of new construction to our community. We've also, thank you to our tax assessor board, we have reduced the amount of conservation use credits that we have provided for our community. So we have taken some properties out of CUVA and converted them back into revenue through tax for our community. That's an interesting dynamic. Because if you look at the bottom right-hand side of the screen, you will notice that on average, our property for homeowners only went up 4.05%. That's in line with inflation. But we are also able to bring more residential population in through housing as we grow our community. So why do we need to adopt a 15.588 millage rate? Well, our county ordinance provides guidance for adopting a balanced budget. In fact, if you look at the highlighted area, the board shall not make any appropriations in excess of estimated revenue. So we are working toward building a balanced budget, and we're doing it in accordance with our ordinance. And the expenditure budget requires adopting a millage rate at the same level of fiscal year 24, 15.588, to deliver a balanced budget for fiscal year 25. And as the screen indicates, the Board of Commissioners has tentatively adopted a millage rate which will require an increase in general fund property taxes by 4.05%. What's interesting to me is the bottom paragraph indicates that our average homesteaded home of $225,000, if your property was valued in addition to last year's valuation, would only increase $53.42. Our non-homesteaded property has a value of $175,000, and the increase, if that property was increased for its valuation this year, would be $44.19. So what does my property bill look like? Well, for a $225,000 home homesteaded, I would call your attention to the county M&O. $1,371. For the non-homesteaded property, $175,000. The county M&O would be $1,091.19. What's interesting about this slide is it does provide for an age-applied county school M&O exemption. So at 65 years of age, our residents can apply through the tax commissioner's office and receive a $10,000 exemption for school taxes. At 70, they can receive a $20,000 school tax exemption. And at 75, they can receive a $30,000 school tax exemption. And using the homesteaded property average home price of $225,000, you will notice the difference in taxes for each of those ages. So where does our money go? An example property tax distribution of revenue for our homesteaded properties of $225,000. 51% of that $1,371 goes toward our public safety, which includes our jail, our correctional institute, our sheriff's department, our code enforcement, and our animal control. General government accounts for 15%, or $212, which accounts for the tax assessor, the tax commissioner, Board of Elections, finance, administration, and the Board of Commissioners. Our judicial accounts for 10.32, which accounts for $141, goes to all of our courts. Recreation and library, housing and development, public health and welfare account for the remainder. There we go. So if we do an alignment of revenue and expenditures, you'll notice that on the left-hand side of the screen, I've pulled out the general M&O. This is all that we're talking about with respect to setting our millage rate. 58% of our total budget that comes through the finance department. And you notice that taxes account for 83% of the revenue. Again, you will notice where the $71,168,000 is derived. 83% comes from taxation. These are the departments that those funds pay for. This is an indication of where our tax money goes. 45 cents on every tax dollar that we spend goes to the school system. 42 cents on the dollar go to county M&O, and 13 cents goes to our fire district tax. I was asked several questions with respect to the 13 cents for our fire district tax. And the short answer is it's a payment whether it comes to the fire department or not, because we have to give kudos to our fire department for a great job, not just because of the work that they do, but because they keep our ISO rating so low that it is extremely beneficial to us as residents, because it shows up on our insurance bill as a reduction. So kudos to our fire department. With respect to the county M&O, 42 cents for what we do, I would like to call the attention to our community for our Corrections Institute. We do employ, as a county, about 115 or 120 inmates that cost our community roughly $50 a day per inmate. And that includes all of their benefits to include health insurance for the inmate. And they do work for us across the county, whether it's cutting grass or cleaning our buildings or doing construction, or here in the last year, a great job at fighting fire. Kudos to all of the work that they do. So we are taking advantage of every opportunity to keep our budget as low as we can possibly keep it. And then finally, I do want to highlight the fact that a 4.05% increase over last year for the valuations is an extraordinarily low position for us to be in. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Great job. Any questions from the commissioners? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we have 3 people who have signed up this evening for the public hearing. Ms. Michelle Drugas.
Good evening, Commissioners. Michelle Drugas, 312 Whispering Pines Way, Griffin, Georgia. It's very interesting to me that last year, the county manager was proposing to raise the millage rate to 18.7 mils. The 18.7 mils rate was even submitted on the tax digest from the tax commissioner to the state. But when the people showed up and spoke against the millage rate increase at the public hearings, the 18.7 mils proposal was voted down by the commissioners, and a proposal of 15.588 was then voted on and approved. Because the 18.7 mils rate had already been submitted to the state through the tax commissioner's office, the 18.7 mils rate was actually listed on the property tax bill that the property owners received, but with a county sales tax credit to offset the 18.7 mils and bring it down to the approved 15.588. Then at the beginning of this year, County Manager Commissioner Davis, and Commissioner Johnson were preparing the public for a property tax millage rate increase again, and we're talking about the need to raise the millage rate to 18 mils at the commission meetings and in a Spalding County video. The tax assessor office had already raised property valuations from 12% to over 25% every year over the past 3 years. So no matter what the commissioners decided to do with the millage rate, it was still going to be a tax increase to the property owners. When the Spalding County budget for fiscal year 2024 and 2025 was being deliberated by the commissioners, the county manager announced that the budget would be covered by the 15.588 mils. Even lowering the millage rate to 15.588 allowed for a $2 million increase to the budget over 2023. Doesn't this tell us something? The Board of Commissioners also approved $274,000 to purchase the Handlighter Church and neighboring property in the city of Griffin. For a board which constantly has told the constituents that this county has no money, where did the money come from to make this purchase? What about the $10 million in ARPA funds that the county has had to declare designations for by December 31st this year? And the funds have to be used by December 31st in 2026. In Noonan and Coweta County, they've used some of their ARPA funds to actually build affordable housing units for people. Here in Spalding County, those ARPA funds have been held onto until they had to make the decision to designate the funds or lose them. Those funds were to be used to improve the lives of the citizens of Spalding County. Other cities and counties in America used those funds and were intended to improve their economies from the rampages of the COVID shutdown. By keeping the millage rate at 15.588 and not rolling back, this is another tax increase for Spalding County property owners. We cannot afford another tax increase. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Michael Middlebrooks.
Good evening. Michael Middlebrooks, 1108 Maple Drive. So as previously spoken, the tax increase is real. And I was speaking to the county manager before the meeting. Just in the last 2 weeks, anybody here that goes to the grocery store, the government can claim all they want about inflation coming down. They're liars. I showed pictorial evidence. I don't know how people are doing it with kids. I honestly don't. And regardless of what the assessor's office, the great achievements that they have made by meeting criteria, that sounds all great. It really does. That maybe they can pat themselves on the back, but it does none of us any favors. Feeding your family these days is tougher than it's ever been in my adult life. Trying to raise kids, especially getting them through the school system that we have here that is overtaxing and underperforming, whole different story. Whether it be a millage rate decrease, which I highly suggest and want, but there was talk a few weeks ago of a fire tax increase in the millage rate for the fire tax. I haven't heard anything about that other than a meeting a couple of weeks ago. I'd like to hear a little more clear definition on that as well, because that's another tax increase. I don't want to see the millage rate stay at the current rate and then turn around and increase the fire tax. I just don't know what people are going to do. My income has not went up 10% in 2 years. And I don't believe anybody here that actually works at a job. Now, if you're self-employed, whatever the case may be, you can do what you want to do. But in the normal line of employment, I don't know if anybody's had a payroll increase of 10%. And here we're running 10, 11% tax increases between, not necessarily tax increases, but with inflation and everything involved. This is a stress and a strain. And housing costs are coming down, but yet values went up. It's interesting to see the difference in analogies. But that's it. I want to see a reduction in property taxes, whether it be millage rate decrease. Some people are going to win appeals, some people are going to lose appeals, but we need some relief because there is none from the government.
Thank you.
Carrie Gebler.
Hi, Carrie Gebler, 646 MacArthur Drive. I don't like taxes any more than anybody else. I do like having firefighters. I do like having law enforcement. I do believe these people need to be paid a worthwhile wage, and I know that they're not getting that. But the spending is too much in too many other areas. I'm going to bring up some I'm going to speak about later in the citizens' comments, but we're hemorrhaging money in this county. One case in point, I went through the shelter a couple weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago. There was about 15 or 20 dogs that have been there over a year. Back when I was on the Animal Control Board, we determined the cost, along with our director at the time, to be about $100 by the time we housed a dog and then had to euthanize it. So essentially, each of these dogs that are staying there past the 3-day limit that they're supposed to be there are costing this county $100. So if you have 20 dogs, that's $2,000 a month, because we're running our shelter that's supposed to be a temporary holding facility for animals that are misplaced or lost as a no-kill shelter, or as a no-kill rescue. If people want to support a rescue, they can support a rescue. But we shouldn't be using our tax dollars that are taken against our will to support a rescue that nobody really agrees with. It's wrong. These dogs, when I walk through these kennels, these dogs are jumping up at your face. You know, why are we allowing these dogs to stay in the shelter for a year, year and a half, 2 years, when we have females out in the street having puppies? We have rabies in the county. We have people that are complaining about the dogs being a nuisance all the time, and the shelter keeps refusing to pick them up. What's happening to our money at the shelter? Oh, they're running a no-kill rescue. They're hanging on to dogs so they can all feel good about not putting one to sleep. I don't want to put dogs to sleep either, neither does anybody else. But it's not okay when somebody brings a dog, an 80-year-old woman brings a dog to me, she adopted out of the shelter, and it's dragging her down the dang road. That's not right. We're wasting money. It's not that we need to increase revenue. We need to stop wasting money, and that's what y'all are doing at that shelter. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, that's all that have signed up this evening.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, motion to come out of public hearing.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. We're out of public hearing. Item number 5, presentation of financial statement. The presentation of the financial statement for the month ending August 31st, 2024. Ms. Dye.
Good evening. If the board approves, I'm going to shorten up my financial presentation a little bit since our calendar is so large. If you have any questions, of course, I'll be happy to answer them at the end. The presentation will present a summary of the county's financial activities for the fiscal year 2025 as of August 31st. This encompasses revenue collections, expenditures, and encumbrances for the general fund and the fire fund. As of August 31st, 2 months have passed in the present fiscal year, which accounts for 16.67% of the budget.
Is it working?
No, it's not working.
Batteries?
Can you move it to the next slide?
Give me a minute.
Well, she's getting set up, everybody, so you're aware. We started a meeting today at 3 o'clock. It was a workshop that we went through a number of items that we're going to be voting on tonight. So it may appear that we're rushing through them and we already decided what the vote was. That's because we spent an hour on each one of them just about earlier. So when you see us do it, yep, this is the third time today we've been through them. So you'll understand when you say, boy, that was quick. Yep, we've spent our time already on it.
Do you want me to continue without the
Yeah.
slides? Okay.
No, just, I think I can get it through now.
Okay.
But it's not coming up over there.
There it is.
Okay.
The general fund revenues are $4.87 million, which accounts for 7% of the budget. General fund expenditures and encumbrance total $11.85 million, which accounts for 17% of the budget. The fire fund district revenues were at $87,850, which accounts for 1% of their budget. And combined total of expenditures and encumbrances for fire district was a total, sorry, I lost my place, of 6.27 or 53% of the budget. As of August 31st, our revenues have increased by 4% compared to the previous month, while expenditures have risen by 8%. In August, the county's expenses exceeded its revenues because of the tax revenues usually collected later in the year and in January after the tax bills are mailed out, which is creating a temporary budget gap. The county continues to spend on its operations and services throughout the year, but the bulk of its revenue arrives at the beginning of the year, causing expenditures to exceed revenues in months like August. The summary of revenue sources for August: the county collected $2.2 million in taxes, which accounted for 45.3% of the total revenue received. Intergovernmental revenues totaled $1.1 million, comprising of 24.1% of total revenue. 14.4% in charges for services, or $702,000. Fines and forfeitures generated $322,000, or 6.6% of the total revenue from court fines. Miscellaneous revenue is $289,000, or 5.9%. License and permits accounts for 2.9% for August, and contributions and donations accounts for 7%, and investment income accounts account for 33% of our revenue. For the expenditures and encumbrances for the general fund, employee salaries and benefits account for 52%, or $6.1 million of the total expenditures. For purchases and contractual services is $4.8 million, or 41.1%. For capital outlay for August, it accounts for 10.1%, or $1.1 million. I wanted to add to the capital outlay that this includes encumbrances for supplies and materials for our Airport Road playground and the master park plan, which is to be paid for by impact fees.
Impact fees.
Yes, ma'am. For supplies, the total expenditure is $853,000, or 7.2%. And debt service for August is 1.2%, or $146,000. Our other cost was 11.7% negative, or negative $1.3 million, because this includes part repairs and supply reimbursements for T-Splosh paving, sidewalk reimbursements, and also includes our street lights, the Griffin Spalding Development Authority payments, Health Department, and also the library. And finally, we have the balances of all of our checking and investment accounts for Spalding County. As of August 31st, we currently have a total of $52.28 million, which is a slight decrease in our bank balances, which we attribute to the increases in salaries. The adjustment in the employee and compensation have led to higher expenditures, thus reducing the overall bank balance slightly. This concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Any questions?
Motion to accept the presentation.
Second.
Go ahead and make the
All right, thank you.
motion. Who was the second?
James.
James. Do we need to vote on it?
Thank you.
Yes, need to
Thank
vote
you.
on it.
Thank you for making it a little bit shorter this time.
Got a motion and a second on the.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0, motion carries. Thank you. Presentations and proclamations. Proclamation in recognition of County United Line Methodist Church, 175th anniversary.
Would you like me to read that, Mr. Chairman? I've got a copy of that here, and it would be my pleasure to read it. Proclamation in recognition of County Line Methodist Church 175th anniversary. Whereas, County Line United Methodist Church, founded in 1849, stands as a beacon of faith, community, and resilience, marking its 175th anniversary with a legacy of dedication and service to the people of Spalding County. And whereas, the origins of County Line Methodist Church can be traced back to 1840, when a Methodist circuit rider preacher traveling from South Carolina would journey westward, stopping at any community or home that would provide hospitality for him and his horses. These preachers held services wherever people gathered, whether in homes, vacant buildings, or underbrush arbors, leading to the establishment of County Line. And whereas, in the early 1890s, William J. Elder, residing in Hammond Road northeast of the church, generously sold land to the church, leading to the completion of the quote-unquote new church building in 1894. The previous building was sold to J.H. Elder for $45, who preached the inaugural sermon on March 3rd, 1894, from Palms 1, accompanied by the hymn, Come Thou Fount. And whereas the construction of the church in 1890s utilized high-quality materials and craftsmanship, evident in the original tongue-and-groove joints still visible in the attic, the church's structure was evolved significantly over time, reflecting the changing needs and growth of the congregation. And whereas the first major renovation occurred in 1855, which included turning the sanctuary to face north, preserving elements of the old building such as the front doors, back steps, and some of the original pews. This renovation also introduced electric lighting, which had been a recent addition as of 1938. And whereas in 1972, a significant brick addition was made to the south side of the church, providing much-needed Sunday school rooms, a kitchen, a dining room, and modern conveniences, including a well and bathrooms, replacing the path that previously led to the church. And whereas the construction of the Fellowship Hall in 1984, under the direction of the late Mont Steele, brought a modern kitchen and versatile space for special events, yard sales, and covered dish dinners, greatly enhancing the church's ability to serve the community. And whereas the most recent addition in 1998, directed by Billy Weasley, further expanded the church's facilities, continuing the legacy of growth and adaptation to meet the needs of this congregation and community. And whereas County Line United Methodist Church has been blessed with 39 pastors throughout its history, each contributing to its rich heritage and enduring spirit of faith and service. Now therefore be it proclaimed, the Spalding County Board of Commissioners do hereby extend heartfelt congratulations to County Line United Methodist Church on its 175th anniversary. We commend the church for its unwavering commitment to its mission, its contributions to the community, and its role in fostering a spirit of unity and service throughout its history. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Spalding County to be affixed this 16th day of September in the year of our Lord 2024. Clay W. Davis, Chairman. Steve Ledbetter, PhD, County Clerk.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to accept.
Accept. Do I have a
Second.
second? All right. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 4-0. Proclamation is accepted. Item number 7, citizen comments. Speakers must sign up prior to the meeting and provide their names, addresses, and the topic they wish to discuss. Speakers must direct your remarks to the board and not to individual members or to the audience. Personal disagreements with individual members or county employees are not a matter of public concern, and personal attacks will not be tolerated. The chairman has the right to limit your comments in the interest of disposing of the county's business in an efficient and respectful manner. Speakers will be allocated 3 minutes to speak on their chosen topics as they relate to matters pertinent to the jurisdiction of the Board of Commissioners. No questions will be asked by any of the members during citizen comments. Outbursts from the audience will not be tolerated. Common courtesy and civility are expected at all times during the meeting. No speaker will be permitted to speak more than 3 minutes or more than once unless the board votes to suspend the rule. Dr. Ledbetter.
Yes, sir. Mr. Michael Middlebrooks.
Hello, once again. Michael Middlebrooks, 1108 Maple Drive. I wanted to address code enforcement because I know that last year we had a lot of issues trying to hire and maintain. I believe now we have 3 code enforcement officers.
Yes. Yes.
By attending currently the Sheriff's Citizens Academy, I have come to find the shortage of sheriff's deputies and staff. So I get it based on what I've understood so far in that academy, with the information they provided us. What I am curious about is I guess, what is the goal with the code enforcement officers that we do have? And are they working specifically on code enforcement? Or are they splitting duties, so to speak, with the sheriff's department? I don't know the answer. That's why I ask. Because I ride throughout the county, and particularly I've been going to Fayetteville a lot because I've had to make several trips over there. West McIntosh sticks out in my head for a couple of reasons. As a major thoroughfare, there's a crashed car that's been out there for over a month, covered up with tarps and sitting on the side of the road. have no idea why it's there, haven't had the opportunity to reach out to try to get an answer. There's also apparently a Class 8 diesel mechanic that lives on West McIntosh Road that uses his driveway for a garage, changing engines in 18-wheelers. Just curious where we're going with the code enforcement department and what the split is, if there is a split, and what their priorities are. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Middlebrooks.
Gary Gebler.
Hi, Carrie Gebler, 646 MacArthur Drive, Griffin, Georgia. As I mentioned earlier, I'm concerned about the absolute waste at the shelter. It's supposed to be a temporary holding facility for lost and misplaced pets. They have a few days to be found and then a few days that they go up for adoption. Running this place as a rescue is not something that the citizens of this county voted for. I think most people support an animal control center, but I don't think anybody that's calling animal control right now for a stray dog to be picked up. And by the way, we have rabies in the county, at least one confirmed case. So they're refusing to pick up dogs that are stray. In the meantime, the website, Spalding County website says that your purpose is, first and foremost, the health and safety of the residents of Spalding County by controlling the population of unwanted animals, domestic and otherwise. They're not controlling animals if they're not picking up strays, and instead they're just holding on to dogs that can't be adopted out. Protect animals have been fought, maliciously killed, injured, and permanently disfigured. By responding to your calls and through investigative efforts, we're able to change. Okay, they're not responding to calls. Some of the calls they go to and they say, we can't pick up the dogs, the shelter's full. Well, I've got 2 of those dogs in for training right now that have been adopted out of the shelter in the last few months. They're a huge liability to their owners. One of them was actually pushed into adopting the dog. And I'm understanding that they're not taking anything back, even if it ends up being unacceptable or a really wrong choice for the person that adopted it. Like I said, when we were on the animal control board, the animal control officers decided that we spent about $100 a dog. When you have 20 dogs, that's $2,000 a month y'all are just wasting because we're running that shelter as a rescue. It's not appropriate. No kill is almost like a cult. It's not okay for a dog to sit in jail for the rest of its life just because somebody wants to feel good about not killing it or somebody doesn't want to feel bad about it. At one point, we had 7 female dogs in that shelter with litters of puppies. They had been refusing to pick up dogs because they didn't have any room. Again, we've got dogs having puppies out in the middle of nowhere. My clients call me and ask me why the shelter isn't picking up dogs, and all I can tell them is it's a rescue now. It's not a shelter anymore. I don't know. Did you guys not learn that it's a bad idea to hire somebody that's got a criminal history, that maybe lost a rescue license or something? I mean, did we not learn from the marshal that y'all hired that shot the dog that we need to vet people a little bit better? Residents of this county deserve to have the things they paid for provided. They pay for animal control. We're not getting it. That needs to change. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bruce Ledbetter.
Bruce Ledbetter, 240 Roberts Street, Griffin, Georgia, 30224. I just want to make another comment as I had left y'all a packet this morning on my concerns on the park at Airport Road and what was going on. I have found today that I got a better understanding of the track surface that they're putting down because I talked to the company. They also, I asked what happened to the old equipment. They said it was thrown away. And I know there must have been 80 or 90 aluminum poles 10 foot long out there, or tubes, that could have been sold and recapped some of the money. And also, I'm trying to understand why Spalding County was providing the dumpster service for the company that dug up the track, or is trying to dig up the track, because if you looked at any of the pictures, they've not completely cleared that up to put new surface down. And that's about all I had to say today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bob Lemoyne.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, there's no one else signed up.
All right, thank you. Item number 8, minutes. Consider approval of the minutes from the Spalding County Board of Commissioners extraordinary session on August 19th, 2024, zoning public hearing on August 22, 2024, and the special called meeting on August 29, 2024.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I would like to second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0, motion carries. Item number 9, new business. Consider a resolution pursuant to 26 USC 147F Internal Code for 1986 as amended, approving the issuance of revenue bonds by the Housing Authority of the City of Griffin, Georgia, in an amount not to exceed $40 million for the Northside Hill LP for the purpose of financing all or a portion of the cost of acquisition, construction, equipping of a 264-unit multifamily housing complex located at 615 Northside Drive, Griffin, Georgia.
Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that we don't have anything to do with the decision to do this or not do this. This is a housing authority issue, that it's actually the Griffin Housing Authority, but they have to come to us to get us, so our vote isn't to approve it, our vote is to acknowledge that they had the required meetings. So we don't actually get a vote to decide if they're doing this or not, or frankly, any input in the process whatsoever, only to sort of, because it's taking place in the county, to acknowledge, our vote tonight is to acknowledge that they've had the required meetings, right? We're not approving them
Correct.
building apartments or anything else.
No, that's
We're
exactly
just-
right.
Nor are we funding it.
Nor are we funding it or
There's
being.
no financial obligation. Okay.
Motion to approve the resolution.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
They
All those-
did in fact have the meetings. They came
Yes.
in and told us that they had the meetings, which is what we're voting on now.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. Item number 2, consider approval of a per diem increase for official court reporter services.
Motion to approve.
I have a
Did your
motion to
motion a
approve. Do I
second?
have a
Did you
second?
second?
Did you second it?
I didn't hear you second.
Okay.
I motioned to
I
approve.
will second his
For discussion?
for discussion.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion and a second. Now discussion?
Dr. Ledbetter, this is going to cost us, we don't know exactly, but it's going to cost us roughly $25,000 for the year. This
that's
brings us in
correct.
line with the surrounding counties. We're the last of the 4 in this circuit to vote and approve this, right?
That is
Everyone else
correct.
has done so.
And may we say that also in our motion, that we actually vote and say up to $25,000?
I wish you would, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you rescind your
I'll
motion,
rescind my motion. You gotta rescind it.
please?
Amend or
I'll
rescind?
second that rescission.
And then I'll make the motion to approve this up to the $25,000 in, per calendar year as budgeted.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right.
Is that what you said?
Up to $25,000.
Up to
He
20.
didn't say up to 2
He did.
in his motion, okay.
All right.
Sorry.
Do I need to say it again?
No, you're good, you're good, sorry.
Any more
I'll
discussion?
change as much as you ladies want.
No, sir.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0, motion carries. Item number 3, consider the amplification permit request for 2160 Rocky Creek for a Sweet 15 birthday party. Mr. Allen?
Is
Yes,
this one of the places we've had before? Didn't we say come back as an event center?
This is not that. This is a separate personal use event. The event center's still pending, but this
They-
is a,
They always are.
They are.
How
It's-
many,
it's
how
the
many
same
15-year-old
location.
kids do they have in their family? I mean, it seems like they're using this as an event center. This is like the 4th time they've come and they've been like, no, it's one of our kids. And you're like,
so the applicant
can't
is
have
here
3
to
people
answer
turn
questions
15
of that
and say-
nature if you want.
Not this year. Oh, well,
I mean, didn't
the
we
applicant, he said the
specifically
applicant
say?
is here. The
Didn't you
applicant's here.
remember that?
That was for,
I mean, I'm not trying to be sticking the mud here, but like, it seems like they're running an event center.
Well, the applicant's here.
well, the applicant is here.
So the applicant is here, yes, sir. It is a family party of Sweet 15, or quinceañeras as they call it. Like I said, Mr. Hernandez is here. Hours are 4 to 10 p.m.
10.
It comes to y'all because if it's after 9 p.m., it comes to this board. So it kind of straddles that time. There's about 150 people here, but it is, as I understand it, members of your family with this involved, okay? So this is why it's coming to y'all, because it straddles that 9 p.m. hour. It is at her address at 2160 Rocky Creek Road, which is approximately 30 acres. It'll be in the pavilion-type building they have right now out there. So Ms. Hernandez is here if you want to ask her some questions about it as well.
It's a wonderful site for an event center. I'm glad that they're turning it into an event center, but we did tell them 2 times ago, hey, don't come back until this is an event center. You're running an event center. And then we gave it to them again last time. I mean, at what point are we not going to enforce the rules to make it an event center? I mean,
So just a
if you guys wanna
timeline with this,
let
this
them
is
have it, I'll-
coming,
I'll vote with you, but I just,
it's coming before the Planning Commission again in late October for the event center. It was heard by the Planning Commission.
oh, okay. So they're moving on the event center
yes.
stuff. Everything's kosher so far?
They had
If
some-
they're moving on it then.
On
that's-
August 27th, the
Okay.
Planning Commission, they had some additional requirements. I've sat down with her, talked about the requirements,
Right.
and it's going to be presented hopefully for total approval on October 29th, I believe. So yes, she's moving forward with that application.
Okay,
Motion
question.
to approve.
Let me ask the question real quick.
You got a motion, Mr. Chair?
I have a motion. Do I have a second first?
I second.
Okay, motion is second. Discussion?
Okay, so it's coming before us tonight to approve, but it's going to the planning commission next month?
So right now,
Event center.
what you have tonight is a Sweet 15 birthday party
Okay.
only. It's a
Amplification.
standalone personal event.
All right.
Yeah, and on next month, they'll come to
The
change it to
event
us.
center
To check,
has to
okay.
come through planning and then to
Yeah, I
us.
just didn't
And
know.
if they're doing the right thing, then that's.
All right.
And just as a note, this was for September 21st party. She recently bumped it to September 28th, a week later, so that's the only thing that changed on the thing. But it's a personal party, standalone from the event center issues we're working through right now.
Right, that's fair enough.
Okay.
They're doing the right thing.
I think I've had a motion.
Got a
You
motion
did,
and a
motion and a
second.
second.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0, motion carries.
I just want to make sure.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Director Allen. Item number 4, solar use in zoning districts pursuant to the Spalding County Code of Ordinances and in conjunction with Appendix M, Spalding County Solar Energy Development Ordinance. Solar power uses need to be added to the permitted use section of certain zoning districts in the code.
What do y'all think? First meeting in October?
This,
How long will it take y'all to?
Are you going to need to work this through on your work shop?
We're probably going to need to see this again.
Yeah,
Probably
no-
need to see it one more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
That's what I'm saying.
do I
So
have
we'll do
motion
the
to
first-
table?
But I mean, we're trying to figure out when.
Yeah, I would like to,
Discussion.
It can't be, if once she motions the table, it can't be.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
that's why we're asking now, like,
All right.
when
How
should we
long-
bring it back?
well, it depends on whether y'all want to bring it before Planning Commission again first.
yeah,
So you're going to be November or December?
All right, let's get December.
And that's usually one meeting, right?
so when
That's
we bring
correct.
it back in December, it will be another workshop to grind through it like we did today.
That's
Yes.
correct.
And you'll be ready for next year.
Okay, so,
Personal use?
But it'll reflect what we
fields,
discussed in the workshop.
so I would like to make a motion to table this item until a scheduled workshop, another scheduled workshop in December.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0, motion carries.
Hey, where's
Consider request for out-of-state use of Spalding County Board motor coach.
the nutrition?
Ms. Carmichael?
Good evening, Commissioners. It's Spalding County's policy for any out-of-state motor coach trips to be approved by the Board of Commissioners. On December 6th through December 8th, Senior Center is planning a trip to Charleston, South Carolina, and they are paying all fees related to that use.
What you guys doing in Charleston?
I don't have their exact itinerary of what their their sightseeing is, but
Fair enough.
you know they're going to eat well and enjoy the sights.
They always have a
Motion to
great time.
approve.
All right, I have a
Second.
motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Carmichael.
Thank you.
Item number 6,
We're,
Just stay there.
yeah.
consider approval of the aquatic center fees.
So since the workshop and the recommendations that had come from the workshop, I emailed you the written recommendation for the fee schedule for the aquatic center
It should be on your individual, or your county email.
under your county email.
Yeah, I saw it.
Speak so everybody hears it, please.
Okay,
It's
yes.
180 and then 150 on.
Okay, so this afternoon, we discussed the monthly membership for resident, recommending $30 for monthly. Each additional member, $15. Non-resident, first household member, $40. $20 each additional. Annual
These are
membership.
the old numbers from the workshop. These have changed.
Yes, I don't want to show that,
Okay.
because everything has changed. Annual membership resident, $180. Each additional member, $90. For non-residents of Spalding County, annual membership, $270. Each additional member, $135. And then on to lane rentals. Griffin Gators, recreational nonprofit, no cost, and they pay the regular Youth Association sports fees. Griffin Spalding County Schools, no cost because of a shared use facility agreement in place. Private and out-of-county teams, $12 per lane hour. So that would include your private schools that are located within the county and, yes, private schools located within the county and out-of-county teams. $12 per lane hour.
Private schools located within the county?
Private schools. And private therapy, $40 per lane hour.
Okay.
I like that better than what we had.
Yes.
True.
Not perfect, but it's way better.
Thank you for, so everybody understood, during our workshop, she came in and said, these are the numbers. We asked her to go out and before this evening, redo the numbers with a different set of guidance, which was pretty complicated, and we appreciate that.
You're
All
welcome.
right, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion. Discussion?
We might need to revisit the private school bit, but since there's currently no demand for that, it's a moot point to argue about
There
right now,
is
so.
a demand for
Which
private
private school?
schools.
Which private school wants to make a team?
Is it more than one?
Yes, we have more than one private school. Let's see, we have,
Trinity, maybe?
currently, I'll just go through the full list of who's asking to use the facility. Griffin Gators, Spalding and Griffin High, Strong Rock, Pike County
Out.
School System,
Out.
Landmark Christian, and Rock Springs is to be determined.
Is Landmark in the county?
Landmark is not in the limits.
Yeah, so there's no in-county.
If Rock Springs does come forward, that we would need to, no, they're out of county as
They're
well.
out of county too.
Strong Rock.
Strong Rock's in Henry.
Strong Rock's just out of the county.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if like Skipstone or Trinity wanted one.
Skipstone
but
has not yet, and I imagine they would be forming, very, very soon.
We might have to revisit that, but there's nobody asking for it right now, so.
I have a
let's
motion
pass this
and a
move on.
second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0.
Here's the discussion.
Thank you.
Come and use the
Thank
pool.
you.
It's awesome.
Tonight.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you,
Great
Kelly.
facility.
Item number 7,
We need
consider approval of the CSBG FY25 application. Dr. Ledbetter,
Ms. Brantley, welcome.
welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Nice having you
So,
here, Jeannie.
we have completed for Spalding County a CSBG application for FY '25. Spalding County received will receive an allocation of $186,611.11. The distribution for those funds will be for the same programs that we currently have. So it's a tutorial program with the Salvation Army. There's a component in there for the Fairmont tutorial program.
Okay.
Home delivered meals for the senior center. Some funding for the youth nutrition program. There's a software for the service that we have to maintain, and then there's grant administration. So I am requesting that the commissioners approve the CSBG application and approve the resolution to submit the application.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. You have a
Second.
motion and a second. Any more discussion?
That's more, that number's larger than it normally is, right? Like that, wasn't it like
It's a little
120 or
more,
something?
Yeah.
I mean, it's 180 now, right?
I think it was 160 something last year, so. it
Okay,
kind
okay,
of
so now,
oscillates.
okay.
I got a question for future grants. Do you know, and you may not know right off the top, of any transportation grants for the kids at Fairmont if they wanted to travel, like, outside of the area? Because right now, transportation is tough for them, like if they go to Stone Mountain or go to somewhere educational, in
Yeah,
the state.
Funding for that. There is, we can provide some funding with these funds. That's something to look at. We should have a lot of carryover dollars left over, so that's something we can consider
Please
with
do.
those carryover dollars.
Just something to think about.
Yeah, 'cause like Fernbank's off.
Kelly,
Aquarium.
Kelly's nodding her head. She's got it. Okay.
Did we get a motion to approve?
Yeah, I motion.
Okay.
You need the vote. You need the vote.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand.
Great.
We always like people who bring us money. Thank you.
Amen.
Number 8.
Item number 8, consider approval of the stormwater easement crew request. Director Umberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. You want to see the presentation again?
Do you all need to see the presentation again? Do I have a motion to approve?
Well, I'll motion to approve for
And I'll
discussion.
second.
All right.
For
Now discussion. Go ahead.
This was in the budget that we already passed, right? Like, this was
Supplement.
allocated money.
Yeah,
We're
that-
just
it's,
Pulling it
it's
out.
listed in the supplemental budget. It was listed at 357,000. The budget's coming in at 355.
We approved the supplement.
I just wanted to-
As
that
money
it's not
became
extra money,
available.
this is-
No, this is not brand new. All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand.
Thank you.
Thank you, TJ. Item number 9, consider required renovations to ensure that 718, 722, and 732 West Broad Street come into compliance with current codes. Dr. Ledbetter?
This is to bring the recent acquisition of the property by the board into compliance with current code and to provide us with the opportunity to prepare the building to move forward with allocation of its purpose.
What's the dollar?
The request by staff is for up to 200,000.
Motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Yeah. When we discussed this, the entire time, it's been, we're gonna require it, they're gonna do the improvements, and that was our partnership. And now they're coming for their cake and to eat it too. That was never the deal. That was never discussed. That was, every time it was discussed, it was, no, we're not gonna pay for the renovations. They're gonna pay for the renovations. They're gonna raise the money. And now they're coming to us I think it's gonna be a great program. I think it's gonna be great. I hope it's successful. At no point were we going to do the renovations. And now here we are, about to pay for the renovations. I'm totally against that. People should keep their word. This is where we were at, and why would we change it? That $200,000 is not something that we should put on the taxpayers. If they want to raise the money, just like they said they would, then they should be allowed to do that. At no point, including when we were purchasing the property, did I always said, if they come to us and they ask us for this, it's gonna be a no for me.
We knew
this
that.
is-
You did.
It's
right, we
not
knew that.
okay
Mhm.
that they're changing their minds now. This was never part of the deal.
So are they taking ownership now, and they are moving forward, be responsible for all the M&O and all the other stuff that they're gonna be doing moving forward.
That's my understanding, yes, ma'am.
Waypoint. All right,
So my understanding is to make sure that, this is to make sure there's no asbestos, that if the lighting fixtures need to be redone, plug covers, if the plumbing is not up to standard, that we bring the building to code, like we would for any building that we would have.
Yes, ma'am.
And what's the
Except for Jan's.
What's the repercussion if we did not do that and we've already purchased the building? Would that fall back on us for any liability issues?
If we put someone in, yes, ma'am, I believe there would be. We
So
want,
it
we need
costs-
to
it
make
could
sure
cost-
that there's no asbestos or lead or any other issues associated with the building.
Because it could cost, I mean, just worst case scenario, it could cost us down the road.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I just want to say, I don't think this is coming from any other outside organization. This is us saying all along that we knew that the building needed to be fixed. And I understand, James,
We knew it needed
you
to
know,
be fixed.
what
We
you've
said it.
always, what you've always said, but I have never had that opinion. So each of us has an opinion, but yeah, I respect the fact that this is what you're saying, and this is how you feel about it. So, just wanted to make that comment.
Sure.
all right, any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 3, all those opposed, like sign. 1, motion carries. Item number 10, consider approval of MOU for coroner van. Dr. Ledbetter? Oh, there he.
I'm actually looking for the MOU.
It's on the screen.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, basically, this is a van that the city of Griffin had in surplus that they offered to the coroner's office for us to be able to do removals in ourselves. In the past, we have had to use local funeral homes to do that, which was a cost to the county. Now that we have a morgue now, we can do this on our own, and it'll be a substantial savings for the county.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second,
Yes.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion?
Yes, I would, coroner, I'm having a brain fart. What's your name? Anyway, I would love for you to get with Steve so that we can find out what it's gonna cost to actually put stuff in that you need, like the being able to get a stretcher in, or whatever you call it, that
We can do
people
that.
are on when
I've
they're
already been
deceased.
looking into a lot of things on that since we thought this was the direction we were gonna head in, so I can get that up.
Is that an electric vehicle or a hybrid vehicle? Is there something special that needs to, I'm trying to figure out why the city didn't use it. Am I
The
brain-
reason, the reason the city didn't use it anymore, it was their former prisoner transport van. Okay, now they, since they no longer have a jail, they had no use for it anymore, so that's why they declared it to be surplus. And because now between the deputies and the city police just take the prisoners to the jail themselves without having to take them in large groups, so it was just a surplus piece that they had.
And you feel confident that it'll work for what you?
Oh,
what
yes,
you
ma'am,
need? Okay.
without a doubt.
That's all.
All right, any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a big year for your corner.
Yes, it is.
You've got lots of stuff this year.
Yes, we sure did, and I thank the board for that.
Cool.
He dies.
Item number 10, report of the county manager.
Mr. Chair, I just want to share with the community the Safe Streets for All grant has been completed by the Atlanta Regional Commission, by ARC, and they have submitted the grant for consideration to the federal government for this fiscal year. We are awaiting, and it should be coming in just any day, for a positive response for that. That will be roughly $450,000 worth of money coming to our community for Phase 1. So Phase 1 for Safe Streets for All is going to look at the 17 school locations that we have across the county, as well as 1941 business that connects University of Georgia with Southern Crescent. It's going to look at the pedestrian traffic flow between those locations. They will examine whether or not sidewalks need to be included for our 17 schools. They will look at curbing the speeds for our community to ensure that the kids remain safe. But $451,000 has been requested through ARC and the federal government for phase 1 of the program. As a part of that program, the Atlanta Regional Commission has been very involved with Spalding County for our master planning over the last 6 months. They are looking at the commercial traffic that traverses between 75 and 85 along the 16 corridor. So there's a lot that's going on from ARC within our community. Very happy that they are working with us to take a look at our traffic and pedestrian flows. Last week, I had a conversation, it was actually a lunch conversation with Commissioner Russell McMurray with the Georgia Department of Transportation, along with their board member, Dennis McIntyre. There were other county managers within our region, within Region 4, that were a part of the discussion. One thing that our local engineer shared with us was that DOT is looking at a traffic study for the Wild Plum 16 intersection that correlates with our industrial park. They recognize that that's an issue for some of the tractor trailers moving in, so they're going to take, that's one of their top priorities. The second priority that they discussed at length was the redesignation of 155 along the North McDonald Road corridor. That's their two biggest issues for our county right now. The commissioner did have a conversation with us because we asked him specifically about keeping our state highways cleaned as far as the grass cutting is concerned. They have done the same thing that Spalding County has done. They are looking for the safety of the community, and they are really paying attention to how much money they're spending for cutting grass. And we're cutting between 3 and 4 times a year. They're cutting twice. So we shared with the commissioner that the length of the county was 19 and 41, and the grass was growing because we were getting a lot of rain, and asked him if he would consider adding an additional time for cutting the grass, and that was another part of the discussion. That said, I do want to really highlight the fact that our T-SPLOST program is working very well for our community. This year, we are on track to complete 31 miles of resurfacing in our community.
Wow.
That will take us to a little over 60, right at 65 miles in 3 years. We are a little ahead on the 5-year plan for our resurfacing program. And kudos to TJ and the team for really pushing hard to make sure that the contractor is doing a good job. We had a little bit of a hiccup this year with the contractor, but they came back in and cut out a portion of the road and actually redid it. So kudos to the team for making sure that we're getting our roads resurfaced well. I did have a question that I want to share. One of my neighbors asked me specifically why we were not resurfacing more roads in our community since we were getting so much money from the state for fuel tax, for gas tax. And it afforded me the opportunity to have the conversation. This year, calendar year 24, for next year, calendar year 25, we actually have to complete all of the documentation for Georgia Department of Transportation for our LMIG program for next year. And then GDOT, if we do all of the work well, GDOT will actually afford us the money this month for next year's resurfacing program. We completed all of the documentation, and for for calendar year 25, we will receive $903,000.
For Lamig.
for Lamig.
How far-
900 and
how much will that-
300?
903,000.
Okay. Sorry, I just heard
How much will that
$900.
So
Seems
resurfacing
like a lot of
cost
effort.
about 287 plus the striping cost, plus the buildup of the side of the road. It's costing us about $327,000 a mile to resurface. So we will get about 2.87 miles of resurfaced roads with LMIG. We have 470 miles of paved roads in the county. So that doesn't take us very far. So it would be great if we could get a little bit more money, and we've asked for that. In fact, I asked for it last week when I sat and spoke with the commissioner, and one of the things that the governor did this year for us was they took monies out of their fund balance, and they provided our county with the opportunity to have, they didn't call it LMIG because the funding that they provided us, LRA, the LRA money, they did not require that we do a match. So the money that we received was about $1.1 million. And we partnered with the board's approval, we partnered with Henry County, and we were able to double the amount of miles that we were able to resurface. So kudos to Henry County for their support in working with us. One of the nice things about being able to double the amount of road that we worked with Henry County on was we didn't just OGI, we didn't just mill just a little bit and then resurface. We actually did the full repaving of the road. So we built up the road up on the north end of the county with their support and help, and the road is actually looking, it's going to be absolutely wonderful. So kudos to Henry County for their support. Mr. Chair, that's all I have for this evening.
Okay. Deputy County Manager?
I have nothing to report other than the financials already.
Commissioner Johnson?
Just, once again, great work sessions, all three this morning. I think was beneficial today. And last, just want to give my prayers to Commissioner Bolden and his family.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner
That's
Dutton?
it.
I was going to mention Ryan as well. I know the pain he's going through, and that's not a fun time for anyone. We always appreciate it when people in the community come in and talk about ways that we can save money. We've heard a lot of interesting ideas, people coming in and saying we should close half the fire stations so we can save money on that, and that a 15-minute emergency response time would be fine as long as they didn't have to pay as much in taxes. And we heard, of course, a very interesting suggestion tonight to change to a kill shelter and kill all the dogs after 3 days in order to save money. Of course, I'm not sure if that would work, since most of the dogs, especially the ones she was specifically describing, are actually being held because they're evidence in court cases. And so they're there not because we want them to be there, but because the courts require them to be there, because they're physical evidence in court cases of dog neglect. That said, I think our shelter is run excellently by top quality people. It's really, really coming a long way, even in the last few months. Not to say the folks before weren't great, but man, the folks we got in there now are just top notch. So it's really coming a long way. I'm really, really pleased at what's going on. Obviously, it's never a straight line up trajectory. It's sort of a wave, but the trend is going up. So we appreciate that. So.
I'm sorry, and I want to make sure, I want to thank Steve also for your Dr. Ledbetter for your
Yeah.
presentation today. Thank you so much for
Great
your
work,
work.
very detailed.
Okay. Commissioner Flowers Taylor? A couple of things from me. I want to make sure everybody's aware of 988. That's a new phone number for if you're having a mental health issue. We've had some issues around our county. If you're having something, you're concerned, you need to talk to somebody, that's what it's for. It's been going on for about a year now. It is absolutely excellent to do exactly what we want, especially if you're feeling well. All right. Second, I spent couple of weeks going to ACCG and GMA policies committee meetings, talking to our lobbyists on both sides of the House and everything else. One of the things that came strongly to me was letter support of a project like we did for the streets. We've got to do more of that. It's surprising how somebody wants to do something, and we get on the back and just send a letter in, as opposed to for a grant or something like that. So I'm pushing the county manager to routinely be able to send those letters of support when somebody else is doing something like the streets. All right? I'd like to say the same thing that Commissioner Johnson said about how valuable I think the work sessions are for us to be able to sit and talk, then have an opportunity to think, and then come back and be able to vote on them a little bit later. All right, anything from the counselor?
No, sir.
County clerk?
Used to be county clerk.
Yeah, welcome back. Citizen engagement, anything from you? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please stand up. Let's get moving.
Watch the little falcons. Watch the falcons.